Have you ever thought about how much your words matter? I'm a word junkie. I'm fascinated by words, not because of their spelling or their sound or how we use them in the English language. So, not because PH sounds like F, not because we have to have K to spell the word knife correctly, and not because we have 3 ways to say the word there. You know, they're there, over there, in their chair. And not because when my wife and I are cooking, and she asks me to go get the Baileys, and when I come back from the liquor cabinet, she directs me to the spice cabinet because she wanted Baileys, not Baileys. No, not that at all. To me, the power of words is how they have a control and an influence in your life and mine. Whether spoken aloud or quietly in those private conversations that we often have with ourselves, words can truly be our friends or our foe. Whether I'm delivering a talk of encouragement to an elementary school, whether I'm doing a sales performance workshop, whether I'm talking with a CEO about the values and core values that they're bringing to their company, I know the impact a single word can have. The idea I'd like to share with you today is that your words matter. And the words you use to speak with yourself, out loud, and with others can impact everything. It all starts with my dad, the wordsmith. He loved words and was obsessively involved in completing crossword puzzles with a single rule: you must complete all down words before you start across. I didn't do many crossword puzzles with my father. He was also an amateur playwright. In one of the plays he did, the characters' names in the play perfectly defined their professions. The sheriff, her name was Law and Order. The captivating mystery novelist, her name was Paige Turner. The weatherman, he was from Europe. His first name was Gustav, gust of wind. And of course, the nurse at the hospital, her name was Ophelia Pulse. He would walk around our house just hoping that his skills would ooze into me and continue with his legacy. Thanks, Dad. I was also raised in a family that was incredibly positive and grateful. Why? The day I was born, my mother suffered a dissecting aortic aneurysm when she went in labor with me. And by giving birth to me, she began a 30-day struggle to survive, enduring 3 experimental and highly risky heart surgeries. The surgeons who performed the operation on her published in the New England Journal of Medicine, as I read, she was the second woman to live past 72 hours after delivery. She made a full recovery, and every morning arose with a gratitude point of view, a thankful and expectant life. She lived for 22 years. Thanks, Mom. I had no tie between my dad's wordiness and my mother's gratefulness until I was hit with my BAM moment, which solidified for me how important my words were to directing my thoughts, my beliefs, my intentions, my actions, and ultimately my outcomes. It's with this perspective that I learned about what a BAM moment is. A BAM moment is when everything's going well in life, and then all of a sudden, bam, something happens and our life is changed immediately. We've all had them, right? Deadly diagnosis, loss of a loved one, a relationship exploding and ending, a freak accident. For me, it was a sudden career change, a job loss. For after 20 years working in the healthcare information technology business, and after working for 3 years to secure, extend an existing business relationship with a large client, my position as Vice President of Client Development was eliminated. Bam! I was scared and I was devastated. So what do you do in these kinds of situations? Well, the story continues. The morning after, I awoke, and pounding in my head was the word strong. I didn't know what it meant, but I quickly reached to the bedside pad and paper and a pen, and I stared at that word, and in a matter of a minute, I wrote, "Stand tall, remain optimistic, now go for it." I had no idea what that meant, but I was on a mission for that day to find something to be strong about. Strong for myself, strong for my family, and ultimately strong for my future. So I went out to try to find something strong in that day. The next morning, I awoke at the same time with the word pounding in my head, and that word was great. I looked at it for a second, I wrote it vertically, probably the crossword puzzle thing, if you're with me. And immediately, I got, "Get ready, expect a terrific day." I had no idea what that meant at that time, but between my house and the grocery store, there are 5 traffic lights, 2 of them are left-hand turns, and it's a very congested part of town. I think what was great about that day was I caught 5 green lights in a row. And I pulled into the parking lot and I got a parking space right up front. And then when I got through the grocery store, miraculously, another cashier line was opened. It didn't matter. I was focused on finding something great about that day. The third morning, I woke up and pounding in my head was the phrase, "Yes, I can." Yes, I can what, Bruce? I don't know, but it became, you expect success in challenging activities now. That was the day I started the resume. That's the day I started opening my Rolodex for my networking. That was the day that I started making phone calls and started moving forward. The power of our words. So this continued for 400 consecutive mornings. A different word presented a different way, written in the same way. So what I learned from that is that the power of my words absolutely have an impact on everything I do. However, we are often taught that our actions speak louder than our words. But what I learned in this moment is that my words trigger everything. And if I pay attention to the words I use, I can more effectively drive my outcomes. Outcomes of my own, outcomes with conversations in relationships, and outcomes with especially my children. Okay, let's go through an example. You may be going through your BAM moment right now. Everybody has something going on. It might be catastrophic. It might just be, how am I going to get home and get back to work this afternoon? Because remember, I may have left and I don't want to be on Facebook today, so I may not be here or shouldn't be here. We can deal with things one way or the other. So let's go through the either-or example. So we're faced with some sort of change, okay? We can look at it as can't handle another negative, gut-wrenching experience, or we can flip that and we can say circumstances have altered, now get engaged. How does that vary with how we'll be dealing with whatever that thing is? So we now have a framework for how to deal with this change, this BAM moment. However, it's not that easy, right? Because what happens? Mr. Fear jumps in. So we can look at fear either as, I fail every attempt regardless, or it fuels my energy and resilience. The fear may not go away, but how I decide to deal with it will determine my outcome. Okay, great, we've lined up the change. We've kind of got fear in the little corner here, at least temporarily. What about Mr. Confidence? We can say, can I? Or just move the I to the other side and make the question mark an exclamation point and say, I can. If we can do that, it moves us from being cautious, anxious, nervous, and insecure to inspired, confident, affirmed, and never a doubt. It doesn't mean we'll get there at the same tempo in a straight line. It does not mean that we will get there without obstacles, but it puts our mind in a place to be able to deal with that change. Every race has a last lap, right? Every symphony has the finale. Every author writes their last chapter. So what about that last bit? We've got framed up change. We've got the fear and control. We believe we can, but it's really easy to tighten up to get it across that finish line. We can either look at it as petrified, under stress, and helpless, or we can just put up some hard work, get ourselves across the goal line. So what I've learned is a carefully selected word can save or change a life, can mend a broken relationship, can build confidence in ourselves to be successful. So I would like to leave you with a challenge, a 30-day challenge. I challenge you to live an inspired life. How do we do that? Invest in your possibilities. Do what you can with what you have today. Neutralize the naysayers. Einstein is quoted, and I'll paraphrase, as saying, negativity can find a problem with every solution. How about we say positivity can find a solution for every problem? Surround yourself with inspiration. The books you read, the people you surround yourself with, the music you listen to, because that will give you inspiration. Put your yes in motion. Start everything with you expect success. Yes. Insist you will, then do. Doing beats wishing. Do hard things. If you do hard things become easier to do. The batteries will go low. Plug in and recharge. When you do, you can elevate your energy. You always have another level. You just have to believe. And finally, distribute your inspiration to others. There's nothing more contagious than an inspired life. Your words matter. Thank you.